How's it going, YouTube lovers? This is the Eagle Builder Animator, and welcome back to another Bird Brain Theory video. And today, I'm going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp. It came out, and it was so brilliant. It was heartfelt. It was funny. It was one of my all-time favorite Marvel movies. I like the first Ant-Man anyway, but this one was just so much fun. It was a welcome change to the tone from Infinity War. I mean, that one was quite the depressing ending. But the mid-credit scene also kind of touched on the tone of Infinity War, and I'll talk more about that later. But even if you ignore that, there was plenty of groundwork laid for Avengers 4, and that will help build the premise and plot of the next Avengers movie. So before I go any further, massive spoiler warning for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So if you have not seen it yet, go watch it first, and then come back and watch this video. Make sure that you've done that because, again, I'm going to be talking about some serious spoilers here. So let's go ahead and start the theory now, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is time vortices. In the mid-credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Scott is returning to the quantum realm to collect quantum healing energy. But that's not the important part here. Right before he goes in, Janet warns him not to, quote, get sucked into a time vortex. Now, this is the first time we've ever heard the actual mention of a time vortex. And this mid-credit scene, like I said, is very important to Infinity War and Avengers 4, and I'll mention that later in the video. But Avengers 4 already seems like it's going to be a time travel movie based on set photos and other info that has been leaked out. But we don't know yet how this time travel will be done. I mean, Thanos still has the time stone on his glove, and there isn't a TARDIS or a DeLorean laying around anywhere in the MCU as far as I know. So will time vortices in the quantum realm hold the key to how the Avengers will travel through time? And it seems like Avengers 4 will have them collecting the Infinity Stones. That's a whole other thing. But about time travel itself, I mean, Ant-Man has the tech to enter and exit the quantum realm semi-safely. So I don't see a reason for the Avengers to not use this to try to find a way to reverse the snap. I mean, that is the big, still, key moment in the MCU right now, and Ant-Man and the Wasp definitely focused on that, and Captain Marvel will likely have some kind of tie into that, because these are the two movies that are bumpering us between Infinity War and Avengers 4, so I expect more clues about Avengers 4 to pop up in Captain Marvel for sure. But again, I think time vortices will probably likely be how they will travel through time in Avengers 4, doing whatever they're doing. I mean, we already see Ant-Man in the set photos, so he's definitely going to be a part of it. But then there is another aspect of the quantum realm that will likely come into play in Infinity War, and those are quantum realities. So early on in the movie, Bill Foster is speaking to his students about the extent of quantum energy and quantum potential. Wow, they really do say quantum a lot in that movie, don't they? But at one point, he actually mentions multiple parallel realities, which seems like way too much of a theoretical thing to be teaching to your students, so it must have a key in Avengers 4. I mean, will time travel that we already talked about with the vortices mix in with these alternate realities? I mean, the set photos that I've talked about for Avengers 4 have shown that they're going to revisit the Battle of New York from the first movie. But is this the same Battle of New York is the question that must now arise. Is it still the Battle from New York back in Avengers 1, but is it in an alternate timeline that is not ours? I mean, Doctor Strange already saw that even from Infinity War alone, he saw over 14 million possible outcomes. So why not have there be other outcomes for previous movies, such as the Avengers? So maybe this is going to be the Avengers using this to collect the Infinity Stones for themselves to stop Thanos without having to mess with what has already happened in their timeline. Which basically is a fancy way of saying they're keeping the previous 20 movies of the MCU canon. Oh yeah. And I thought normal time travel gave me a headache. When you throw in multiple realities, oh gosh. This Avengers 4 is going to be mind-boggling. I'm calling it now. It's going to be ridiculous, even more than Infinity War was. But anyway, so we've got the time vortices, and we have quantum realities. Those are likely going to play the big parts of the premise for Avengers 4. And this last part is going to help with the plot of Avengers 4, and that was the big cliffhanger from the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, both of the post-credit scenes for Ant-Man and the Wasp gave us Infinity War connections that we were expecting, but particularly the first one. So, the mid-credit scene, Hope is getting ready to pull Scott back out of the quantum realm, back into our reality, But that's when the snap happens halfway around the world in Wakanda. And then all 3 members of the Pym family, Hank, Hope, and Janet, turn to dust. So that takes our already existing roster of main characters who were dusted on screen, adds 3 to it, so now we have 15 main characters who were turned to dust by Thanos' snap. This is just getting ridiculous. But now, not just the fact that they're gone is important, Scott is now stranded in the quantum realm. I mean, in the first Ant-Man, he used one of those grow discs and he put it in his regulator to get out. But Hank actually said that he redesigned the regulators for the new suits that both Scott and Hope are wearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I'm not sure if that same technique will work this time around. So there's different things to wonder about how he'll be able to get out of the quantum realm. I mean, the first one goes into what I've already talked about, and those are the time vortexes. Is it possible that he doesn't avoid one of these and he falls in and he ends up in Wakanda with our other heroes sometime after Infinity War? I mean, there have been strong rumors that Avengers 4 is going to have a time jump, so that there's probably going to be like a year or even more between Infinity War and Avengers 4, where just nothing happens and Thanos has won. So maybe that's Ant-Man doesn't know that any of this time has passed because he's going to fall into a time vortex and end up somewhere else. Another possibility for him getting out of the quantum realm is a tear in reality and he gets sucked into that and ends up getting spat out somewhere else. It's a similar concept with the time vortex, but this one ties in directly to the synopsis of Avengers 4 that was leaked a while ago. It talks about there being a fragile reality that the heroes are realizing about this universe. So is this possibly how the fragility of reality is going to be introduced in Avengers 4? The fact that Ant-Man finds one of these tears, again, I'm not sure if there's going to be tears, this is speculation, finds a tear in reality and he just falls through it, and that's when they know they need to act and fix what Thanos has done? That is another possibility. The third one is his daughter, Cassie. In the comic book, she becomes a character named Stature who has Ant-Man-like powers to grow and shrink, and there already have been rumors that Marvel is looking to cast an actress to play a teenage age version of Cassie. So which also feeds into the rumor that we already have that Avengers 4 is going to have a time jump from the events of Infinity War. So that would totally fit into it as well. So there's just so many different options here. So the first post-credit scene is definitely the one that ties in most to Infinity War and pushes forward into Avengers 4. But even in the goofy second post-credit scene where we see Ant playing the drums, before that, everything is quiet except for an emergency alert tone going off on the TV, basically showing that this is still in the aftermath of the Infinity War with Thanos, and the world is now turned up on its head because half of the population of the universe is gone. Before I go, here's a quick recap of today's theory. First, time vortices were mentioned by Janet in the post-credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that is something that's in the quantum realm, so that is very likely how time travel will come into play in Avengers 4. Second is quantum realities. There were alternate realities mentioned very early on in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it seems like too much of a focused-on side note to be just some throwaway line that happens to tie into the quantum realm. I believe that it will play an important role in Avengers 4. Maybe we'll have multiples of the same characters on screen at the same time. Oh, gosh, again, I feel like Avengers 4 is going to be mind-boggling. But then the other part is the massive cliffhanger. Scott is going to have to find a way to get out of the quantum realm to help the Avengers fight Thanos. It will likely be either him falling into a time vortex, falling into a tear in reality, or maybe even his daughter Cassie will pick up the mantle of Stature like she does in the comics and help save her dad and maybe even join the fight. But again, this is all speculation, so we'll just have to wait until 2029 for Avengers Endgame. I mean Avengers 4. I mean, that was just a rumor. But, I mean, come on, the cinematographer literally listed it and then removed it, and Marvel has said nothing about it. Come on. Avengers Endgame would be a great title for that if it really is marking the end of an era for the MCU. I mean, come on, guys. Let's be honest here. It's probably going to be the title, even though nothing's confirmed till it happens. I'm going with that as the title for now. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Please drop a like down below if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye, guys! Wait a minute. If Ant-Man and the Wasp post-credit scene caught up to Infinity War... Wait, what about the snap? Oh no, back to this again!